दोस्तों, welcome to Nexa Domain.
While using web, mobile, or any application, you may have seen some response codes. Have you ever wondered what are they?
In this video, we are going to learn about important HTTP response status codes which are returned by a server on specific HTTP request. Without wasting time, let's begin. When you make specific HTTP request to the server process that request and return the process for that specific request. Status codes are issued by a server in response to a client's request made to the server. Internet Assigned Numbers Authority assigns some standard response codes. Status code is a 3-digit integer. The first digit of the status code defines the class of response and the last 2 digits vary. Status code classes are as follows: informational, success, redirection, client error, server error. Let's learn all important HTTP response code one by one. Starting with informational response. Informational response defines the request was received and continue the process. The mostly used informational codes are 100 continue, which tells the server has received the request and client should continue with next request or ignore the response if request is already finished. 101 switching protocol. This code is sent in response to a request that asks the server to switch protocols and the server has agreed to do so. 102 processing. As the name stating, this code indicates the server has received the request and is processing the request but no response is available yet. 103 early hint, used to return some response headers before final HTTP message. Let's move to next HTTP code class. 200 series of HTTP codes indicates the action requested by the client was received, understood and accepted. It represents the successful responses from the server. The mostly used success codes are 200 OK. 200 codes indicates particular HTTP request is successful. 200 is a standard response for successful HTTP request. 201 created defines the request has been fulfilled, resulting in the creation of a new resource. 202 the request has been accepted for processing but processing has not been completed. Particular action will be taken after processing occurs. This method is used while you submit some document for verification. After verification, your document will either be accepted or rejected based on verification. 204 indicates request is successful but no content is available to send for this request. 204 tells the user agent, that is the browser, to reset the document or form which sent this request. 206 response code is used when partial request needs to be sent or rectification required. This happens while you are submitting complex form and required fields are not filled or some errors occurred in some of the fields while rest of the fields in the form have been submitted. These were the mostly used successful HTTP response code. Now let's move to next class, that is redirection. 300 class of status code indicates the client must take additional action to complete the request. Many of the 300 series codes are used in URL redirection. Starting with 300. 300 code indicates the request has more than one possible response. The user agent or user should choose one of them. You can find example of this in YouTube video. When you start the YouTube video, it is started with auto-selected quality and it also gives you an ability to choose quality, and based on your selection, you will be redirected to specific quality video. Next, 301 tells the URL of the requested resource has been changed permanently. The new URL may be given in the response. 302 response code means that the URL of requested resource has been changed temporarily. Further changes in the URL might be made in the future. Therefore, this same URL should be used by the client in future requests. 303 the server sends this response to direct the client to get the requested resource at another URL with the request. 304 is used for caching purposes. It tells the client that the response has not been modified, so the client can continue to use the same cached version of the response. The server sends this response to direct the client to get the requested resource at another URL with the same method that was used in the prior request. This has the same semantics as the 302 HTTP response code, with the exception that the user agent must not change the HTTP method used. If a post was used in the first request, a post must be used in the second request. This means that the resource is now permanently located at another URL specified by the location. This has the same semantics as the 301 HTTP response code, with the exception that the user agent must not change the HTTP method used. If a post was used in the first request, a post must be used in the second request. 400 class of status code is intended for situations in which the error seems to have been caused by the client side. Let's see all client errors one by one. 400 says the server could not understand the request due to invalid syntax. Although the HTTP standard specifies 401 as unauthorized, semantically this response means unauthenticated. That is, the client must authenticate itself to get the requested response. 402 response code is received for future use. The initial aim for creating this code was using it for digital payment systems. However, this status code is used very rarely. Error 403 indicates the client does not have access rights to the content, that is, it is unauthorized. So, the server is refusing to give the requested resource. Unlike 401, the client's identity is known to the server. 404 indicates the server cannot find anything matching the requested URL or resources. This status code is also commonly used when the server does not wish to reveal exactly why the request has been refused or when no other response is applicable. 405 the request method is known by server but it has been disabled and cannot be used. For example, an API may forbid deleting a resource. 406 response is sent when the server, after performing server-driven negotiation, doesn't find any content that conforms to the criteria given by the user agent. 407 is similar to 401 but authentication is needed to be done by a proxy. 408 response is sent on an idle connection by server. The server would like to shut down the unused connection to speed up the surfing. Conflict response is sent when the request could not be completed because of a conflict.
410 indicates the request content has been permanently deleted from server with no following address. Error 411 occurs when the content length is not defined. The server will not accept the request without it. Error 412 occurs when the server's predefined condition is not met. 413 error indicates the server will not accept the request because the requested entity is too large. 414 error occurs when the server is unable to accept the request because the URL is too long. 415 indicates media type is not supported. 416 happens when the range is outside the size of target URL's data. 417 response code means the expectation indicated by the request header can't be met by the server. The request directed at a server not able to provide a response produces 421 client error. 426 indicates you need to upgrade application, browser, etc. to complete the request. 428 status code indicates that the origin server requires the request to be conditional. The user has sent too many requests in a given amount of time. Because of rate limiting, 429 error happens. The requested resource that cannot legally be provided, such as web page censored by government, usually cause 451 error. Most of the errors that occur usually are of class of 400 series. Now, let's move to server error responses.
500 series response code occurs when the server failed to fulfill a request. Response status codes beginning with the digit 5 indicate cases in which the server is aware that it has encountered an error or is otherwise incapable of performing the request. 500 status code indicates the server has encountered a problem and it does not know how to handle. The server did not support the functionality required. This creates 501 not implemented response. 502 means that the server got an invalid response while working as a gateway. 503 indicates the server is not ready to handle the request. It may be down for maintenance or it is overloaded. Error 504 comes when the server acting as a gateway or proxy receives an invalid response from the upstream server. Error 505 indicates the server does not support the HTTP protocol version. These were some of the important HTTP response codes. There are still many standard responses which we didn't discuss. You can learn more about all the response codes from external website. Link is given in the description. Hope you enjoyed the video and learned something new out of it. We will meet next time with something new. Kindly like this video and share it with your friends so that it reaches more and more people. And thanks for watching.